All right, everybody, we're live. Welcome. Gotta figure out how to stop this horn music. It's called Feeding the Ducks. All right, we're live. This is my first live stream on YouTube. So, welcome, making history. I have to make sure I don't get banned. I don't know what the rules are for getting banned anymore. I don't know how to not get banned. Okay. We're going live. We're actually going live with Jay Dyer. Jay Dyer was recently on Piers Morgan. Let's see if I can share this with you. He was recently on Piers Morgan debating two liberal Christians, and Roger Stone was there, although I think they were in agreement. And they were debating about who the next pope should be. And Jay Dyer did a great job. I was actually really impressed. And I was not surprised with everything else we saw from the other two people. I don't know if the wrong crowd is coming back, Evan. I saw that. Look, I was filming the wrong crowd when I was in Austin and I had friends. And now nobody wants to touch me. So, I mean, people want to touch me, but not that way. So we're here. We're going live. Let's go ahead and bring Jay in. Jay, are you with us? Can you hear us? Wait, hold on. All right, Jay.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Jay's got to tune in with audio. How's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Yeah, we're doing it live, everybody. This is live. This is unedited, unscripted, live. So it's going to be less racist than I usually am because I don't want to get banned. Okay? That's why. Jay, you're traveling right now, right?
Yes, we are in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and I'm sitting here next to my wife and a random dog. So yes,
Oh,
traveling.
well, I like say hi to your wife. Your wife. I like your Yakub picture there. That's awesome.
Thank you. It's fitting. So there was
Yeah,
people saying, after this discussion that I was disrespectful to the good black bishop there, who of
of
course is
course.
a made up bishop. So I wanted to show respect for my creator, and so hence Yakub.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Hey, I gotta say, I watched you on this and I was so happy that you were on there because you laid the smackdown, I think. You came with facts. You out debated these losers. And you basically saw what was going on with the other people was exactly the shit that we have to deal with. It's woke communist bullshit that disguises itself as like this Christian compassion and then wants to attack anyone who doesn't want to go with the woke agenda as not being Christian, which is so ironic because all of these people are atheists.
Oh, absolutely. It's the fakest full bunch of shit ever, dude. So like when I came on there, I had no idea what to expect. And Piers's producers, I kid you not, they told me three separate times, we don't want you to be nice, Jay. I know that you're probably thinking we're British, we're polite. We absolutely disdain politeness. You must be aggressive, Jay. You must do this. So
Oh,
I was
really?
yeah, I kid you not. So I was like, oh, all right. You don't have to ask. You don't have to ask me to be sassy, baby. I'll bring it. And right out of the gate, I was like, okay, this black dude is like 100% liberation theology, socialist, Marxist, atheist, just total fake. It was obvious.
Yep.
So I just immediately went after that guy. I knew he wasn't going to last like a minute before he contradicted himself. And of course he did, because he says like a minute later, well, representing liberation theology. And I'm like, I thought you weren't a liberation theology proponent, which he is.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, I
yeah.
want to go. I want to go to this video. I want to play this clip real quick because this was the one that did it for me, and I hope that everybody else caught this. But let me go ahead and play this for everybody, just this part, and then I'll check in with you, Jay.
To see elected the next pope. I'll start with you, Bishop Torbas. Well,
I think that many hope to see the church retreat from the progressive path that Pope Francis charter during his papacy. And I believe that they want the next pope to bless their nationalism, to justify their cruelty, and basically baptize their greed. I don't.
So just real quick, I'm going to interrupt this real quick. I just want to say, okay, when I was watching this video for the first time, when I was watching this, I was like, all right, he's going to go ahead and give a synopsis of right-wing nationalism, which means white nationalism, as this evil thing. And then I had money on it that I swear when it came time, he was going to say we needed a black pope. Let's go ahead and see if he does what I thought he was going to do.
I don't think that should happen. I think the next pope, whoever he is, should be selected based on not on the comfort of the powerful, but on the cries of the vulnerable, and stand firmly in the tradition of prophetic Christianity, one that centers what Jesus called the least of these, rather than catering to the fears of the privileged.
So give me a name.
I think there are several popes that he charted a path so that potentially we could have, for the first time ever, an African pope, someone who is black, and I think that may be in the best interest. And so I like
just to finally say, let's get a black pope. Hell yeah, man, dude. I feel like I would have been playing bingo right now. I would have won so hard. So here you go, right? Wants to say all this crap about don't be a nationalist. You can't have this sectarian identity. They would love to beat back this progressiveness. And then what does he want? He wants a black pope. Why do you want a black pope? Oh, because you're black and you identify with being black. Whoa. So with all the BS that he's going off and saying, right, he then has his own identity politics. Jay, you could jump in anytime.
Yeah, so there's a couple funny things about that, which I didn't even notice in the midst of the heat of the discussion. You notice when Piers asking who he thinks is good, he doesn't know any of the candidates. Like he actually just says, there have been several black popes. Okay, but what does that have to do with the candidates amongst the cardinals? Nothing, right? So he doesn't actually know the topic, and so basically he just fell back into whoever the black guy is, that's what I want. But the funny thing about that is the black guys are the ones that are, quote, the most conservative of the cardinals. So like Cardinal Sarah, who's the based black guy, supposedly.
Right. Supposedly,
He's actually, yeah,
but I'm not falling for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think he is, but the funny thing is, like, according to the media, he is. And so the very guy that this guy would champion doesn't believe in liberation theology. So it just showed that this guy has really no clue about anything.
Yeah, I mean, that of course he doesn't know, but also this is just classic, right? This is what people don't understand. They say all this stuff about let me get this fucking loser out of here. Let's see. Can I put user in timeout? Hell yeah. Oops, did I? Okay, great. This is my first time live streaming, everybody. But yeah, they say this. They say all this crap about how they're anti, we don't want any kind of nationalism, whatever. And what they really mean is we don't want white people looking out for their own interests as a group, because then who's going to look out for us? Because we actually need white people to give us all the things that we want, because for some reason we can't figure out how to do it by ourselves. And if white people start thinking about themselves as a collective, we're fucked. Like, that's really the issue.
This dude is like he's like the next iteration of like Jesse Jackson and
for sure.
Al Sharpton. He wears T-shirts, I kid you not, on his videos that say "Give me reparations." So this guy's like a total.
Let me hold some of that. Give me that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a gives me that. He also shares Black Jesus. That's his whole thing is no, Jesus was actually a black dude.
Oh yeah,
and,
Jesus was actually Yakub. Because I always got to say this. They always are like talking about how their God, is black or whatever, and then he made white people to be servants, everything. And I'm like, So your own God doesn't love you enough to make you smarter than us.
So, I mean, well, yeah, like, why is God allowing all the systemic oppression if your God is the black God, right?
Right.
Why are you so oppressed, dog? But the other thing that's funny is that in in his Twitter feed, I was just perusing a little bit of it. He literally says like hashtag liberation theology, right? This was like an old tweet. And
Right.
so as soon as I called him out on that from the outset, he lied when he said he's not into liberation theology because he shares it on his Twitter feed all the time. So
Well, he was suddenly introduced to the idea that being a liberation theologist was not a good thing, right?
Right.
Based on, he had enough intellect to infer context clues. Oh no, I shouldn't be that, and so then he tried to back out of it and lie, which is very common.
Yeah,
And
it
also,
is.
I'm just tired of these people who get a title. I'm a bishop. It doesn't mean anything when your church is fake. Your whole church is fake.
Yeah,
You guys-
he's like a made up Pentecostal bishop, so that's not
So,
even a thing.
yeah. Oh, you don't respect me. That was a funny part too. Let's go back and play some of that because that was pretty funny. When you guys were going back and forth at it, let me see if I got it at the right.
That there are many celibate priests that are good, that are
Mark II coming through this, but not a more progressive.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying.
That the reforms of Vatican II are irreversible and magisterial. So there is no way to go back to some pre-Vatican II church. It's just a fiction that a lot of traditional Catholics tell themselves. And of course, I'm a big fan of Francis because he is a great apologist for Orthodox Christianity. We've had more people convert to Orthodoxy under Francis than ever before. So he's sending them our way. And I don't think you're going to get anybody better than Francis, since he appointed 108 of the 135 cardinals. They're all going to be Francis 2.0.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I think that is likely to happen. Roger Stone, one of the issues that Pope Francis fully embraced was the war in Gaza, but he seemed to fully embrace it from a pro-Palestinian perspective. I think he famously, every evening, he telephoned a Catholic church in Gaza throughout the entire war.
Wow, man. He really went out of his way just making a phone call to Gaza, man. He really stood up for them. But I got to say, it's something better than nothing because you're not allowed to talk about Gaza. But Roger Stone, of course, being the right-wing American Republican, is going to come in here and talk about how that was not good. We got to support our greatest ally.
On it. The Israel removed condolence tweets to the Pope it had put out and only sent an envoy to the funeral. There was a perception he was quite anti-Israel. A, do you agree with that perception? And B, is it important, whoever becomes the next Pope, that they are not perhaps seen to be taking sides in a war like that? Or is the point of a Pope that he should take sides sometimes?
No, I think he's yet another example of the Pope getting into politics. He has no criticism for Marxism, but he criticizes capitalism. He has no criticism for radical Islam, but he praises or reaches accommodations with the Chinese. He calls President Trump's immigration policy anti-Christian, interference in an American election. I'd like to return to a time when the Pope speaks to matters of faith. The church certainly needs it, but he needs to stay out of American and frankly, world politics. That is not his role.
I mean, what is the role of the Pope as far as you're concerned?
Right.
It is.
Yeah, let's stop there. I think you guys can go back and watch that video. So, Jay, I mean, I got to say, I don't necessarily disagree with Roger Stone, what he was saying there, especially because Pope Francis was kind of a communist. I mean, saying that we've heard this, right, over and over again, that if we don't accept the immigrants, that's anti-Christian.
Right.
Do you want to speak to that? Because that's the one thing, this is the thing you guys got to see, right? All of these atheists, non-Christians, right? You'll see this with the Jews a lot. All of a sudden now Jesus was a Jew, right? In their they rejected him in their Talmud. They say he's burning in a vat in hell. But now when it comes to needing the Christians to support their war, suddenly he's a Jew again. And the same thing with all these atheists. I mean, a lot of these lefties, wokies who want mass immigration unfettered, are atheists, but they want to tell you about what your religion says you should do with immigrants. So go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I had quite a bit of notes that we didn't actually get to because I had no idea where this chat was going to go. But it's funny because the same guy that was the mentor to both Klaus Schwab and Pope Francis is a guy named Helder Camara. He's the famous liberation theology socialist bishop.
So he's a
I
mentor to both of these guys?
correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I want
Um,
to get into how much of this, because I can't help but like see this whole Pope stuff and the way they deal with it, and just start thinking like, this whole thing just feels like a whole controlled Truman Show thing where they want
Yeah.
to they want us to dance and watch all this stuff, and then it's just all a big show.
Well, I mean, the thing is that the guy who was the mentor to Camara, the guy that's the mentor to Klaus Schwab and Pope Francis, his name was Paulo Freire, and he's one of the key socialist liberation theology guys. He wrote a book, Theology of the Oppressed. And so all this liberation theology is literally filtered right down to Francis, right to Klaus Schwab. And they're basically butt buddies because they have all the same philosophy, all the same ideology. They're pushing all the same open border stuff. Meanwhile, the Vatican has a giant Leonine wall that Pope Leo built like 1,000 years ago to wall out all of the invading armies. And so these guys that sit in these giant palaces tell us that we need to take all the migrants and all the third world refugees. But this is a plan. It's a plan of the deracination of the West. It's a socialist, leftist policy, and of course Israel supports it as well because they want the Hamas refugees, quote unquote, to come to the West, to come to America. I think remember, yeah, Netanyahu said you should take all of our Hamas, throwaways or whatever. So
But this even started even before that. I mean, we had Barbara Lerner Specter fully going out there and orchestrating the migrants going to Sweden and saying Europe needs to be multicultural. So this has been this is part of their agenda.
Yes, it's a joint agenda between technocratic socialists, the Rothschild elites, the EU elites. All of these people have worked together. I've talked and done lectures on several books that cover this. And so they actually talked 100 years ago in the UK about making the UK into Londonistan as the test run for the rest of Europe and for the West to Islamicize it.
Oh,
So
Londonistan. So like London plus Istan, meaning to be Islamicized. Okay, gotcha.
no, I mean that's what it's called nowadays. Like London
Okay.
is so bad, people call it Londonistan because it's basically minarets and garbage bag girls everywhere if you go to London.
Yeah.
And we went in 2018 to do it. I did a talk in London, and it was like, am I in Saudi Arabia or what is this London? What is this place? It's crazy how Islamic it is now. And that was by design, is what I'm trying to say. Is like people think that this is just it's just leftists being dumb. No, it's not. It's a plan, and they've talked about it for over 100 years. In fact, the Kalergi plan is the plan that the elites of the UK and the EU accepted, which was the destruction of the Western peoples through mass migration.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up this picture. Let me see if I can pull this up. Give me 1 second, everybody. Come on. Let's I'm going to pull this picture up for everyone. This is what London looks like now. And what's so funny is here we go. Classic high IQ Indian. Somebody was talking about how India looks like trash, how bad it is. And then this guy wrote under that, meanwhile, London. And then it's clearly a picture of a bunch of third worlders who've destroyed London. So totally lost on him. I mean, you can't even blame these people, right? Because these people are low IQ. They're not going to be able to function. They haven't built this in their own society. They're not going to be able to function in your society. The issue is that white people have been brainwashed into this suicide of their own culture because they we had like 30, I want to say it's been about 70 years of fostering this white guilt, and white people literally went in, they colonized, they destroyed everything. And so they should feel bad. They should constantly apologize, bring all these people in who openly say that they are now seeking revenge upon people for what white people did to them, So, Jay, if you could talk a little bit, I am really interested in pursuing this idea of this whole thing seems like a Truman Show thing, even to the point of like, all these people are talking about, you've got Piers Morgan here talking about the Pope, and they're all interested in the Pope. But meanwhile, nobody acts like Christianity is real. I mean, none of these people act like Christianity is real.
Right. So the the thing with, Roger Stone's comment that the Pope needs to get out of politics. Well, the Pope has been directly involved in geopolitics since the 11th century. It's called the Gregorian Reforms, when the Pope declared himself in the document Dictatus Papae, the King of Kings and Emperor of Emperors on the world, on the global stage. And ever since that time, all the way until Vatican II, the papacy taught the doctrine of the temporal supremacy of the Roman bishop, meaning that he has all earthly temporal power as well as spiritual power. So this is really just kind of a lack of knowledge of church history, that the papacy has been a geopolitical world power for the last 1,000 years until it lost it after the various revolutions in Italy. And if you go to Italy, as we did last year, we went on an Orthodox pilgrimage to Orthodox Italy, and there's
a part of Italy that's still Orthodox.
No, what I mean is that our pilgrimage was to all of the pre-schism churches and sites and relics, right? So, I mean, there are some like Orthodox churches in Italy, but most of the sites that we went to are nowadays Catholic, but they have the saints, the relics of like pre-schism saints. Anyway, but what's funny is that we went to, I don't know, 15 cities in Italy, and many of them are African. Like you think you're in Gambia or something, or like Angola. For example, when you go to Genoa, like Genoa salami or whatever, which is famous for salami. There's you don't see Italians, you see only Africans. It's pretty wild. I don't know if you saw those boats a couple years ago when all the boats were like floating to Italian islands, and here's like the whole Zulu nation shows up suddenly. You're supposed to take care of them, and if you don't, you're racist. So this is what I guess got Meloni popular in Italy, is that she wants to deport all these people like Trump. But anyway, I'm just pointing out that Roger Stone is wrong that church history has the Pope being a spiritual figure, not a political figure. Now, the Pope's always been a geopolitical figure since the 11th century. And this is a strategy and a technique to destroy Europe. It's called the Kalergi Plan. Carol Quigley talks about the Royal Society at least accepting the Kalergi Plan to destroy Western people groups through no borders. And so that's why you see libertarianism is promoted, because libertarianism classically is all about no borders. So it's fine to be libertarian. It's fine to be, I don't know, lib cuck or whatever, but you cannot believe in anything that maintains like boundaries and, classical Western civilizational principles.
Right. Their whole attack is on right-wing nationalism, which is insane to me, because the whole time, what, this is the thing that really pisses me off about these people, is right-wing nationalists are not in power. They haven't been in power since World War II. And even then, it was a sliver of time. And all the destruction that you see happening is happening under the power of non-right-wing nationalists. So all of this fetching about, oh my God, the nationalists, the right-wing nationalists are going to take over. This is just so Jewish, because it's like, hey, who's running things now? Because everything's pretty shitty. Everything, the kids are being trans, right? We're bringing in the third world everywhere we can. London is full of Indians and Pakistanis. The dollar isn't worth anything. There's no value to anybody's currency. Even if you want to talk about the stuff that's happening in Latin America with their countries being destroyed, who's in charge? It's not right-wing nationalists. So what's all the kvetching about? Oh, it's because you work for these Zio bankers who run everything. whose whole point is to keep everybody a slave. And the fear and the panic that you stir up about right-wing nationalism is the panic that those people feel, and you're their paid agents.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a usury debt-based system that enslaves the nations. It destroys the currencies, as you pointed out, by removing them from anything that's a hard asset. And so the money can be inflated and imprinted into oblivion, which is actually theft on a generational scale. People don't realize
Correct.
this, but when you inflate the currency and steal in that way, you're stealing from future generations and their time and energy and their savings. That's what you're actually doing. So it's generational theft. You know, after World War II, for example, they put the Axis nations into massive debt. And that was on purpose to enslave those nations. And a lot of people don't know that the OSS, the predecessor to the CIA, actually set up a bunch of re-education camps in Germany to re-educate and basically turn
There
the
we go.
Germans. It was
There we
just
go.
actually to mind control and to turn the Germans into like, remember that Saturday Night Live skit with Michael Myers, like, you know, sprockets, like turn them into like weird Dieter level, you know, creeps, which is basically what Germans are now, I guess. But that was all social engineering to destroy, you know, one of the strongest, you know, engineering countries in Europe, to turn them
Yeah.
into these weird, you know. Do you remember this skit I'm talking about? I started out live with sprockets.
I don't know. If you text it to me, I'll pull it up over here. But this,
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's
or if
it's
anybody
funny
in the
because
chat knows it, put it in the chat, and I'll bring it up.
are you not from the 90s?
I won't answer that question, Jay.
You're not from the 90s? I don't understand. Are you from this?
I was born in 2012. So
What?
I'm 13 years old.
Oh, okay. So now I'm a creep. I'm a PDF because I'm talking to you. Yikes. You blackmail me.
Well,
You
I am
blackmailing me.
I'm a 90s kid, but I don't know where I don't remember that
You never
I
watched
don't,
Saturday Night
I'm
Live in
not
the
a Gen
90s?
Xer. I'm like a millennial. I'm still in the millennial
Okay,
phase.
well, I'm an elder millennial, so I watch
There you go.
Saturday Night Live, so I don't know.
We got okay, but so this is
So,
another
so
thing.
all my references are falling flat, so there's no point in me talking anymore.
No, people will. But this was a great book for everybody, by the way, because basically what you were talking about was described in this book called The Camp of the Saints. If you guys can look at how much it is. It's $4,900 for a hardcover, and $110 if you want the soft cover. I'd recommend people get this book. I'd recommend people get books and hold the physical copies of them. This book was written by this guy in 1987, this French guy, and he described verbatim what is happening now with this mass migration. He described looking out his window, seeing these boats of third worlders coming to the shores and them trying to decide what to do, whether to, you know, shoot them and save themselves or let them in and know that they were going to ruin themselves. And so this is a book they don't want you to read. But boy, oh boy, let me just tell you guys, this stuff has been happening for a long time. We are just finally waking up to it.
Yeah,
Did anybody get that sketch that he was talking about? Come on.
There's another book from a former British analyst guy that's very similar to that book, written in the 90s. John Coleman's committee, what's it called? Committee 300? Yeah, Committee 300. I read it a couple months ago. And he
300, John Coleman here. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, he lays out the exact same thing of like that. He wrote it in the 90s, and he said, you know, by like 2020, they want to have like all these third world people basically filling the West, destroying America, etc.
Right, this is exactly what's happening. And he wrote it in 2016.
No, he wrote that in the 90s.
Oh, so this is not the right book then.
No, that's it. But that book is written in the 90s. That might be a 2016 printing, but it's actually from the 90s.
Gotcha. Yeah, crazy. So let's go back. What's some of the stuff that you didn't get to talk about in during your Piers Morgan stuff?
Well, he wanted to like really tout his status. A lot of black people are like really into like their names and their titles. And,
Oh, that was
he-
amazing. When
like
he said
Bishop, my name
disrespect,
is
let me see if I can
Bishop.
find that.
You put respect on my name. My name Bishop, whatever he said. And I honestly did not remember his name, so that's why I called him this dude. He was like, he did not take kindly to me calling him this dude, but
Yeah, you should have respected his made up name.
well, that's when I said, since he was arguing for all this cuck stuff, and I was like, okay, Bishop Tilda, what was his name? And then I just spit
You
out
said
Tilda Swinton, and he doesn't know who Tilda Swinton is, so he never even caught that.
Yep, I know.
But then, like later on, the producers were cracking up because they thought it was really funny.
Yeah, I think
so
I think they actually that's what they captioned it. If I show
they
everybody.
changed the caption to that now,
Yeah,
which cracks me
excuse
up.
me,
But,
Bishop Tilda Swinton. Let me see if I can play a part of that.
Direction.
Okay, Jay Dyer, I can see you pulling some faces there. You clearly don't agree. So why?
Well, first of all, I don't know if he's a Catholic bishop, a Methodist bishop, what kind of bishop this person is, but the Catholic Church used to teach that it's the duty of Christianity to set boundaries. It's not, number one, inclusivity. That's a modern term that's been added. Jesus himself set boundaries. Jesus himself said that if you love me, you keep my commandments, and that includes the teachings of the church. So this idea that Christianity is just this open, feel-good, kumbaya thing is completely made up. It's completely liberation theology, and that's why people like this guy love Pope Francis. Proves Bannon's point that Francis was a liberation theologian.
Not liberation theology.
There he goes.
It literally is. It's identical to liberation theology. What you said is word for word liberation theology. Yes, it is. Pedagogy of the press.
Exclusion and demonization of people is not what Jesus taught.
There we go.
He taught to
What did he
welcome
say about the
other
Pharisees?
But my point would be on this, Bishop Torbas. Well, hang on. My point would be this. I don't remember when Barack Obama was deporting 3 million people from the United States when he was president. I don't remember the Pope whacking him. It did seem to me that Pope Francis, who I personally had a lot of time for and respected hugely, but when he went out of his way to attack Trump, I did think that was deviating out of a norm. Why should Trump be attacked for his immigration policies when Obama, a Democrat president, had deported millions of people?
Well, I think the major difference is Trump ran his campaign
Is Trump's white
on the promise of mass deporting individuals.
Well, what's the difference? I mean, one promised to do it and then didn't do it quite as much as his predecessor. Obama deported way more people than Trump ever did in his first term. Way more.
Well, and there were many, and particularly those of us from the liberation theological perspective, who condemned Obama for those deportations.
But the Pope,
I thought you weren't a liberation theologian. I thought you weren't. Now you are.
I didn't say I wasn't. I said what you were saying was not liberation theology.
Okay, let me bring in Roger Stone.
Well,
Roger, let me start by.
He just basically contradicts himself back and forth.
Right. And I don't know where the Bishop Tilda Swinton part is. I put that clip up on my channel if you're looking for like the brief clip.
I'll find that. Let me see if I can find that.
If you go to my channel under the video section, that's the Bishop Tilda Swinton part where he got really mad about that. But he didn't even know who that is. So, my references all fall on deaf ears, except for Piers's producers. But a lot of people in the comments like the Bishop Tilda Swinton. And by the way, if I go back on, I'm going to keep calling him Tilda Swinton.
Dude, I really hope you do. Is this the one? This is on yours? Is this the clip?
If it's like a 2-minute one about Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time for women priests and preachers across the board throughout Christianity. I think even in my denomination, where we do not ordain women, we are behind the times when it comes to recognizing the full humanity of the talents and the gifts of women and what their contributions can be toward ministry.
Jay, you don't look very convinced.
No, I think Bishop Tilda Swinton is way off there because women were never ordained in the history of the church to the priesthood or to the bishopric. It's always been forbidden. And again, it's just liberation theology that he's pushing. And then he says he's not personally pushing liberation theology, but actually it is liberation theology. He's already contradicted himself. That is what you said.
That's not what I
Literally
said.
Everything you laid out was liberation theology.
What you described as liberation theology was not liberation theology. I never said.
I said your definition, your opening statement. Your opening statement was.
Listen, Jay, you got a real problem here of using people's words against them.
You trying to oppress me with facts and logic? That's racist.
You try to oppress me with my own words. So this whole debate was about whether women should be priests. And just look at this guy over here, this woke guy. This guy's a female ally, by the way, who was pro having a woman priest. Look, I just want to say this. If I walk into a church and there's a woman conducting the service, I'm walking out. That's all.
Amen.
That's all.
Amen. Preach it, girl. Preach it.
I don't, look, the whole world's upside down. The world's upside down. So women got to do stuff that men were supposed to be doing. That's why I'm out here being racist. This was your job, men, and you're not doing it. And now I got to do it instead of being in the kitchen cooking for people. That's so much easier, by the way. So much easier to be in the kitchen cooking for kids and raising kids than having to be on the internet and be racist and deal with a bunch of people giving me lewd comments, which I'm not a fan of. Okay. But the truth is, I want good, solid, moral, male, white male leaders. That's what I want. That's who I look at and go, yeah, I would trust you to guide this ship. I don't get why that's so crazy. I don't get it, Jay.
Preach it, girl. I'm in your congregation, baby. Preach it, girl.
I testify. I don't. Sorry, because look at what happens. Everything is starting to go into everybody's feelings, and even Pierce was talking about if Jesus was here, I think he would be. Yeah, are you a follower of Jesus? Why does everybody who doesn't follow Jesus all of a sudden know that he would? Can we just talk about this for a little bit? This is a real issue that we're having. This is why white people aren't being racist. This is why they're not being misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic. How have these atheists co-opted Jesus Christ? Can you explain this, Jay?
Well, that was the purpose of liberation theology, was to basically create a hippie Jesus who's a tool of social action and nothing to do with like theology, boundaries, principles, the idea of Christian nation states and this kind of stuff. All that's out the window for a social justice Jesus who's basically a figment of, NGOs and think tanks and foundations for the pushing of the social gospel, the pushing of these sort of radical agendas under the cloak of so-called Christianity, which has nothing to do with Christianity at all. And that's exactly what both of the dudes next to me represented, ironically, in that Piers show.
No, they did. I know the two of them did. Yeah.
And so it's basically just social engineering, right? So the churches become what's called tools of soft power. So when you get the super state or an oligarchy or a corrupt, ruling class of banking scammers, they want to turn every aspect of society into an engine of control and social engineering. And so the church becomes a tool of what's called soft power, that extending that power into other countries through, a fake gospel that has nothing to do with, actual Christianity. And that's what most American Christianity is, by the way.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I mean, as people may know this or not about me, I converted to Orthodoxy about 3 years ago, I think now. I'm not sure exactly when it was. Maybe 2 years ago was the full. Anyway, I started going to the Orthodox Church in 2021. And I didn't even know the Orthodox Church existed, by the way, until like a few months before. All I knew was Catholicism and then all of this other stuff that you see around and the mega churches. And I knew I'm not doing the mega churches. That's fake. These bishops where the bishop is gay and they have like a trans flag. I'm like, well, what's the point of this religion?
Right.
And then the Catholic Church, I knew it had its problems, and I was very suspicious of it because of its alignment with power. That was my real problem, is like I'd studied history. I knew all the stuff that the Catholic Church did that had nothing to do with the faith. and that's how I feel about the Vatican. And that can really rock someone's faith, I think, in God when you see what they're, a lot of the corruption. I mean, all you have to do is look up. There's somebody they made a saint. I forgot who it was. I got to look this up. I watched this whole video about these. They were in the Roman Catholic Church. I think it was like Saint Justinian or something. They were the emperors of Rome and his wife, and they were like the most awful people, and they're made saints, by the way.
Well, Justinian is an Orthodox saint, but not
Not that.
not a saint in the Roman Catholic Church. But
No. This one's in the Roman Catholic Church. He was a Roman emperor. I'll see if I can figure it out. I'll text it to you. I'll figure out who they were.
Right.
Literally the most evil people. Evil people. I mean, his wife was a former prostitute. She basically, and it's not like she repented of prostitution. She just used and maneuvered to get to power to marry the emperor, and then she used her power to like abuse people horribly, total narcissist, and the Roman Catholic Church made her a saint.
Well, I mean, some of the worst popes were like the medieval or Renaissance era popes, like Alexander VI, who had if you go to the Vatican,
Somebody said it. Theodora, that's the one. Thank you, Theodora. That's right. Somebody tell me who she was married to. Go ahead. Sorry.
The Alexander VI is a more interesting character because if you go to the Vatican, you can go to if you go to the Vatican Museum, that's the old papal apartments, and there used to be a tunnel that would go from the Vatican apartments to his own whorehouse that he owned underneath the Vatican. So there's like a tunnel. So Alexander VI is notorious. There's actually if you watch the Borgias with Jeremy Irons, he plays Alexander VI. It's a pretty good show. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of corrupt historical, political people, but I think the issue is that you have a specific change in the 11th century where the church is no longer what we as Orthodox think of the church being, and it turns into a geopolitical power under the Gregorian reforms of the 11th century.
Yeah, there it is. Somebody said it. It was the Pope was Justinian and Theodora was his woman. I'll send you the video, Jay. If you watch it, it's pretty awful what these two people did and how they tormented people. And it was all about power. And none of it was about, none of it was about the faith or Jesus or anything like that. And it's interesting because now we have a similar thing happening where these people are trying to use Jesus to bludgeon you down. They want to beat you into submission, into once again, the state's agenda, which is so ironic, right? Because you hear them talking and they're all talking about the downtrodden and the oppressed and all of this stuff. And I'm like, since when does the state ever align itself with the oppressed? Never.
No, that's a cloak. I mean, there's a really good psychology paper. I know people probably think I'm talking about Jordan Peterson because he recently referenced this, but before Jordan Peterson mentioned it on Joe Rogan, there's a really good paper on the dark triad traits and what's called virtuous victimhood. If you type that in on Google, you'll get this paper, and it's really good because it illustrates that people that utilize victimhood status that are narcissistic and cunning, they can actually achieve a lot of social currency and status in a society based around egalitarianism and goodiness, right? Because that society values. I think so. I can barely see it, but the society that operates that way values victimhood status, and so attention can be kind of a currency. And that paper proves that cunning, narcissistic leftists can utilize victim status as a way to get power, and it's actually a net negative because it actually takes away from actual people who are victims, but people like Bishop Tilda Swinton and then these kinds of people that are like leftist, sociopath, narcissistic cult leaders, like they can prey on victim status and hide behind that cloak. That's why I was calling him the actual Pharisee.
Oh, I heard you. I think you absolutely were. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think this is it. If you want to look, it says virtuous victimhood as a dark triad. Is this the paper? Yeah, so everybody can look this up. But you know, I've been very suspicious of this for a while, and only recently started to have the words to put together what's going on. But I actually talked about this earlier, and I'll get into that in a second. But we see this, right? All of these trans men, they're men who want to be women. These transgenders who are claiming being a massive victim.
No,
Meanwhile,
this paper is about them. Yeah, exactly.
oh, perfect. Meanwhile, they're terrorizing people by, like, if you don't say their pronouns, they threaten to beat you. I thought you were a woman. That's not what women do. You know?
No, all leftism, and I mean, technically, you could have some people on the right who try to capitalize on victim status, but basically, all leftist, activist, blacktivist type people like
Right.
that bishop.
I was going to say the same thing we saw with Austin Metcalf and the
Yes,
kid that killed him. He's the victim because he's black, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of like a social justice warrior, you know, who here's a good example. Remember when Joss Whedon, it came out that he was like touching butts and going after women and like preying on them, but the entire time of his career, he was like this super Democrat, pro feminine. He was an open feminist,
Right.
and then it comes out,
male
and then
feminists are just predators.
yeah, exactly. That it comes out that he was just not touching butts nonstop.
Yeah. Here, this is why I went into that today. Well, let's go to this. I'm sure you've seen this. What's going on here?
Called a nigger, the N-word. You call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger?
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old.
Right. Okay. So did you see this today, Jay?
I did not, but it sounds like a Hispanic dude.
It's a Somali. Wait till you get this.
Oh,
It's a Somali. And as he's over here, totally outraged that this white woman could dare say the N-word. By the way, guys, Somalis, mad racist to Black Americans, say the N-word all the time. Right. Okay. But he's on his high horse right now because what did he realize? Oh, ride the elevator up, be greatest victim, ride the elevator up to power.
Right.
He was arrested for raping a 16-year-old.
The dude making the video?
The dude in the video. We got that information. I'll pull it up for you guys.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, what's happening now is, okay, yeah, maybe it's not the best thing calling a 5-year-old child the N-word or whatever. Fine. But people lose it. We're all suffering from Black fatigue, watching Black people do whatever they want with no repercussions. You know, they raised $500,000 for that kid that stabbed the white kid just because he was Black, and that's their Rosa Parks moment. So she lost it. The real issue is this Somali pirate refugee who just got to this country 5 minutes ago and all of a sudden knows all about social justice, hate speech, and putting a white woman on blast, and has no problem filming and posting that, when you know they don't have any fucking rights in Somalia. Zero. But he gets here and suddenly he wants to be the arbiter of justice.
No, but that's what that paper's about, is that kind of a guy. That's a great example, right? That's the whole point of the paper, is that very cunning, deceptive, wicked people know how to utilize victim status to gain social currency.
Yep. And this is what I have found over and over again, is you know that I get a lot of heat for the stuff I say online. I tweeted the N-word one time and they all started canceling me because all the open micers are jealous that they're not funny. And so they're like, oh, great, we can finally get her on this, which all it did was make me more famous. So way to go, guys. But I had Black guys sending me death threats, Latino guys sending me death threats, Black women sending me death threats. And you want to hear something? because I had people look them up. I have a team, and they found their background. They all had arrest records. It was insane, and for heinous shit, DUIs, domestic violence, theft, whatever you want to call it. But suddenly these people become morally righteous when a white person says the N-word.
Yeah, this is like, imagine if like Jeffrey Dahmer orders a pizza, right? And like the pizza's late, and then he like accosts the pizza dude because he was like having to, you know, wait too long to put the human meat on the pizza, right? It's like the
Or,
level
how about
of
Jeffrey Dahmer orders a pizza. I don't know if I could say the slur on here, but they call him the gay slur. And suddenly, you know, he starts.
Yeah, how dare you call me the
that's
F word?
exactly what it is. People are not as concerned for the heinous things that people do as they are for the things that people are saying, you know?
Yeah.
And it's specifically the things that people that have been deemed the worst people by our liberal lunatic society. If you catch those people violating the rules of the Zio banker enslavement state, take the elevator up.
Yeah, they're the biggest hypocrites and Pharisees out there. I mean, the left and these people are the actual Pharisees, the actual, you know, virtuous victimhood signalers, because they don't have anything else going on. And so the only way to achieve power in that kind of a society is to be the greatest victim. Exactly like you said.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's this guy. So here's this guy right here. This was the guy who filmed it. He was able to link his identity through his TikTok and his legal name. It's the guy on the right, from what I'm understanding. That would be Sharmak Bile Omar. And here he is. There are two Rochester men who were accused of raping a 16-year-old after offering her a place to stay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, like, you know, the other countries and the other cultures don't have our ethics. They don't have our ethical views. So, like,
Thank you.
they don't care. They don't care about like stealing your daughter's butt and, you know, doing whatever. They don't have the same ethics.
But
And
this is what makes me so angry, Jay. They don't have the same ethics. They know they don't have the same ethics. They know that all of the values we have, they don't have. But when they get here, they instantly know that they're offended by our violations of hate speech.
they know that everybody here's a bunch of dumb, cowardly cattle, right? Who won't, you know, will kowtow to worshiping, you know, the migrant. And they know that. So they're actually more streetwise smart than, you know, the average dumb white American.
Yeah, well, they're totally trying to use that now to power. But you know what? Here's the thing. I think this is finally the straw that broke the camel's back, because white people aren't having it.
That's right. That's true.
They started a GoFundMe for her. Let's see if I can share this GoFundMe for everybody, because this is pretty interesting. Let me see. I got to see if I could share the GoFundMe. Here we go. It started this morning, okay? And she was originally asking for $20,000, and now she's already all the way up to $165,000 shared, and she's asking for $250,000. And you know, this is the way these things go, right? They started the same thing with Austin Metcalf. At first it was like 40,000, then they're like, oh shit, we're getting this money, right? And now it's like, oh, 500,000, right?
What is she asking him for money for?
They have to relocate, because here it is. She said it. He posted these videos, caused my family and myself great turmoil. My social security number has been leaked. My address and phone number have been given out.
So she got doxxed. Okay.
She got doxxed. They're getting attacked. And they have to relocate, you know. They called the kid. Yep. And then this guy, yeah. So, but here's the thing, you know, it's not like white people are like want to go around calling a 5-year-old kid the N-word. They don't. Okay. But the point that we're at right now is we don't give a fuck anymore, because we're like, hey, if you don't care that one
Right.
of yours literally stabbed and killed one of us, and you want us to make a big deal about saying a word, yeah, we're done. We've already seen through this.
Yeah.
And if we go, if we go to her thing, look at the comments, dude. Look at the comments. People are done. They're done. Oh, this is a rabbi? That's hilarious. That's funny. We're even getting the Jews on our side. I don't care what the word was used. Silencing whites for calling out bad behavior is not equality. We've had enough. One person's racist is another person's realist. I hope the best for your family and all white families. Capitalize the W when you say white, guys. Thank you for standing up for your son. You're a hero. We love you. Stay strong. This is what happens when you stand up to these mongoloids. We don't have to live like this. Wishing you the best. We need positive change. So here you go.
Yeah.
Here you go. People are done. And it's all over, by the way. It's not just there,
Yeah. Now that this virtuous victimhood ideology is out there, people can spot it, and that's the good sign, right? People can figure out and see through the cons and the scams. And I mean, if you visit another country, you see that they don't operate the way we do. They don't have this high trust society. They don't have this, altruistic attitude like most white Western cultures have. And then you realize, okay, well, when they come here, they're not operating on my ethical system. They're calling me out for, racism or whatever. Like that bishop on that video, like the Piers Morgan thing, like immediately he goes to race, right? It's like
immediately. Why?
Yeah.
Because he knows he's been trained. That's the trump card. Soon as I do that, I win.
Yeah, exactly.
But here, look, you can see what's going on. And I salute Lucas Gage for what he was saying, because I think he really articulated this very well about why people are done. He said, it boils my blood that parasites think we are going to allow a fucking word to destroy us anymore. I don't like saying the word, but people have the right to say the word if they want to. We are done letting words destroy our lives. Fuck anyone who disagrees. He goes on. You people don't get it. If they can police your speech, you're already fucked. We must destroy political correctness and censorship at every fucking level. I don't care if you don't like what people say. I don't either, but it's their fucking right to say it. We whites must put our foot down now. Next time it will be your son stabbed in the heart or your wife on camera getting doxxed. You fuckers don't get it, do you? You think this is about collabs and content. They want us enslaved or dead, all of them. And it's true.
I think it was all you comedians that made the N-word great again. It was Sam Hyde and Sam Tripoli and you that all made the N-word great again.
Because I felt that was the last frontier, right? Is saying that, because before that it was talking about the Jews. That was a pretty far frontier. Before that, it was making any kind of race jokes. Before that, it was talking about trans. So at every step of the way, when I started comedy, I kept coming up against these barriers. Because when I started in 2019, we were peak insanity there. Peak insanity.
Yeah, right.
And if you made trans jokes, forget it, man. People literally thought they had the right to kill you. And so when I started breaking through those things and being like, all right, I'm going to make those jokes, and then dealing with the backlash, you don't realize you're not free until you start doing what they tell you you can't do. That's it. You're never going to realize the slave system you live under until you test the boundaries. And, the final frontier for me was saying that, because it's like, wait a second, Puerto Ricans can say it. All kinds of Mexicans can say it. Hispanics can say it. Forget Black people can say it, of course. Middle Easterners can say it. It's all good. Nobody really reacts, right? Because they can all claim like, oh, I'm brown, I've been oppressed. The minute white people say it, it's a total, and even if they're singing along to a song, by the way, I've seen this. That's why you have all these videos where a white person is like filming themselves singing the song, and then the word comes on and they go, total cucked. We're not doing that anymore. Okay, you want to put it in the song? If we're going to sing the song, we're going to say all the words. Don't put it in the song then. And while we're at it, stop listening to this rap nonsense bullshit. It's destroying your brains.
Excuse me, I'm gonna be rapping soon, so I don't appreciate that. I'm being
Yeah,
serious. I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna open up for Riff Raff, so I'll be rapping. But thank you for dissing rap.
yeah. Well, rap sucks. I'm sorry. It all sucks. Most modern music sucks, dude. It sounds like literal hell being pumped into your brain. You don't
No,
realize it until you listen to some good classical music or some really talented singers. Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, she had a great voice. Can't knock her. And then you compare it to the crap that's out. And it's like everybody's like kind of sad, semi-sexual, but it's like they've overdone the sexual thing that it stopped even being sexual. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, my music's very sexual. It's called cringecore, so it's actually subversive to the modern music genre itself. So I'm actually going in and subverting music from within, and by making really shitty music, I will destroy music to bring back good music.
Excellent. Excellent. But so I don't know what I was saying. I was going on a rant. I get on these rants and then I lose it. Anyway, this is where we're at these days.
Is this your first live stream? What do you think of live streaming? Is it fun?
It seems kind of fun. We have 5,000 people watching right now, which is pretty good.
5,000 watching?
Yeah, we got 5,000 people watching.
Holy crap, dude!
Yeah,
I'm
live on YouTube and X. So between the two, we've got about 5,000 people watching.
Well, you're more famous than me, so I guess I'm jealous now. So I got to figure out a way. I got to figure out a way to destroy your stream by saying something horrendous. I don't know.
Don't do it.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Because I'm live, I don't know how I'm still allowed to be live. Honestly, I don't, because it's.
I agree. I don't understand how you're allowed to be live. You're pretty.
I don't either. I just think the tide's turning so fast now.
Yeah.
The tide is really rising because what's really going on with this stuff that Lucas is showing, and everybody kind of jumped on board to help him. You know what I mean? Because look, this is what everybody started tweeting. This is where X is at now. Lucas Gage was like, all right, cool. We can't say the word. I'm going to say whatever I want. So he said it over and over. Then 1984 retweeted it. Then Kurgan, and it's become a snowball effect. And this is where you're at. You were at the Streisand effect. Okay, we can't say it. Now we're all going to say it all the time. Because as I like to say, the race war has been going on for at least the last 30 years. Just white people have been the target.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I think people just assumed that it was free reign on crackers and honkies, and that just ain't
It was
Yeah.
free reign on crackers and honkies. That's the truth. And white people were just supposed to take it and put their head down because they had been bludgeoned into believing they were guilty about every horrible thing that ever happened in the world, which nothing could be further from the truth.
And all the black people told me I would never be a rapper, and now I'm going to open up for Riff Raff this summer. So, what do you think of that?
Who's Riff Raff?
You don't know any of my rapper? Are you fresh off the boat from Albania in 2018?
I'm a legit child of immigrants. I'm so anti-immigrant, I don't even talk to my own parents.
You don't talk to yourself. It's like your own family.
Listen. Yeah, I don't have any discussions with myself.
I'm just kidding with you.
I'm so anti-immigrant, I'm going to deport myself.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm committed to the cause.
Now, there are quite a few kind of satirical musicians and rappers and people out there. So that's kind of the stuff that I do, is kind of a halfway. We do it at our live shows. We do a lot of music that's not serious music. I might have sent you a clip one time. I don't know, but I got a opening gig for one of the top white rappers who's kind of a satire white rapper.
Well, that's lovely. Well, do you have
I think you would approve of that. I think you would approve.
I would like to see it, but I'm not a fan of white people taking on black culture in general. I'm like, why would you lower yourself that way? It doesn't make any sense.
No, but like in a comedic way. It's not serious.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's all right. What do you have any closing thoughts that you want to leave people with before we go?
Well, I thought my rejoinder at the end was appropriate because since they all wanted a female
Oh yeah.
ministry,
Let me see if I can
yeah,
let me see if I can pull that up because that was really funny.
I thought, there would be no better choice than Katy Perry, who said that when she went to space, she encountered the goddess, and it, made her cry when she got back down out of the Jeff Bezos tube that she was in.
Yeah.
So why don't we make Katy Perry the Pope? If
Let me
we
see if I
want,
can
that was
get
like
it
the
up.
last segment.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now, but we'll see if that's gonna happen. Hold on. No, one second. Hold up.
Okay, Jay Dyer, who should be the next pope?
Well, Katy Perry went into space and contacted the divine feminine, so I guess the guy's flanking me. Maybe Katy Perry would be the next option, since she's a woman. She's met the divine feminine, the goddess, out in space, and maybe we need to evolve into worshiping the goddess.
Katy Perry to be the next pope. Let's leave it on
Look at how the black bishop can't even laugh.
that bombshell. Thank you all very much indeed to my panel.
Like he can't laugh because it was funny. You got him, but he can't even laugh. Amazing.
He went mad on Twitter. He went ballistic on Twitter. He was.
Oh,
he was
I know.
furious.
I saw because he couldn't win in real life. Well, I'm going to do a little plug right now, guys. I do have, I'm still doing live comedy shows. They are all at secret locations because, as you know, the haters love to call the clubs where I'm working, complain, and get me canceled. And we still have a bunch of losers who give in to cancel culture when they want. So if you guys want to see me, I'll be in Los Angeles this month. Pray for me. Denver, Boston at the end of the month, and then I'll be in DC next month, Kansas City, Fort Worth, Texas, and then in Seattle. All secret locations. None of those are comedy clubs. They're all venues that I had to get on my own. If you guys want to see where that is, that's at leonardaisfunny.com. I don't know why it's not showing on here, leonardaisfunny.com. And yeah, you can go get your tickets right there. And then you could sign up on my website to stay on my mailing list. Yeah. Anything you want to plug, Jay?
Oh, yeah. So we'll be in LA for the next 10, 11, 12 days or so, and we'll be doing a bunch of podcasts. So look for those. And my third book is available at my website. You can get signed copies by ordering there at jasonanalysis.com in the shop. And yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. I think we're working on a new episode of the Sam Hyde Show, so that'll be out in the next few weeks. So yeah, that's it.
That's great. Everybody make sure to follow Jay on Twitter at J_D007. He is going to be in LA. So if anybody wants him on your podcast in LA, hit him up.
Word.
And yeah, I guess all your stuff is here on your website. So
yeah, exactly. Thank you.
All right. Good. Thanks for coming in here. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.